Hey, this is Sam. Welcome to BNS About Movies. This week we're going to talk about American Psycho 2. You might say, wait a second. American Psycho 2? Yeah, directed by Morgan J. Freeman. Not Morgan Freeman. Morgan J. Freeman, who made Laguna Beach, 16 and Pregnant, and Teen Mom. But this movie, you might have no idea it exists. Much less, it wasn't even supposed to be a sequel. It was called The Girl Who Wouldn't Die. And it wasn't until production started that the film's script was altered with the incorporation of Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. In fact, Bret Easton Ellis, the author of the book, claimed that Lionsgate wanted to include a serial killer subplot in the Rules of Attraction, and he turned them down. So this is the movie that resulted. So anyway, remember Patrick Bateman, that guy who we're left wondering, is he or isn't he a serial killer? Well, forget about that nonsense, because we start on him with a date with lead character Rachel Newman's babysitter. She's 12 years old, maybe too old for a babysitter. But Bateman kills the babysitter and dissects her. But Rachel turns the table by stabbing and killing him with an ice pick. And that's Mila Kunis before she was a star, playing Rachel. Now she's all grown up and studying criminology in the class of former FBI agent Professor Starkman. That's part of her insanely obsessive path to becoming an agent herself. Starkman is William Shatner, and our protagonist is in love with him. So if the idea of a 71-year-old Captain Kirk being pursued by a 19-year-old Jackie is hot to you, well, good news. This is for you. Kunis attempted to stop production of American Psycho 3 by saying in an interview, please, somebody stop this rated petition. When I did the second one, I didn't know it would be American Psycho 2. It was supposed to be a different project, and it was re-edited. But it's astounding this exists. It has two well-known actors, and so few people are talking about it.
Ribbed for her pleasure.
Also, if you have a letterbox list about it, yes, a cat gets microwaved. And despite as much as I love Mila Kunis, this is a very hard movie to watch. It's kind of one of those giallos where somebody is able to kill all sorts of people and get away with it, use their sexual power to do it. I guess I probably like it. Never mind.
It's like they say, the brightest futures are based on forgotten pasts. In the end, I did put Dr. Daniels in a bit of a pickle, but you've got a gift to take, you know? He gets his national bestseller, which is ever so flawed. I wonder how he sleeps at night knowing they still walk the streets. Me? I need for him to know. I mean, what's the point of pulling off the perfect set of murders to realize my dream if there isn't someone alive who knows about it? It would be as if I've done nothing at all.
Anyways, from one bad sequel to another, let's talk about one more. Let's talk about Caddyshack 2. It took 8 years to make Caddyshack 2. Perhaps Caddyshack is the greatest hijinks ensue movie ever made. A quick statement like a day in the life of a golf course and hijinks ensue. That's Caddyshack. You can watch it at any time. The beauty of the original film is that despite having characters like Ty Webb and Al Cervic,
6 of those? Oh, this is the worst looking hat I ever saw. Well, you buy a hat like this, I'll bet you get a free bowl of soup, huh? Oh, it looks good on you, though.
the story's really about Danny Noonan, a working class kid forced to follow the whims of the rich in the hopes he can work toward a better life. It also comes from real life, as Brian Doyle Murray, his brothers Bill and John, were caddies at Indian Country Club in Winnetonka, Illinois. His brothers Bill and John Murray and director Harold Ramis had all been in Danny's caddy shoes, actually. Most of the people in the movie were all based on actual members of the clubs they had worked at, so it's real. Harold Ramis told AV Club that, hey, they said, we've got a great idea. The Shack is back. I said, I don't think so. But they said Rodney really wanted to do it, and we could build it around Rodney Dangerfield. Really one of the best parts. I'm a big Caddyshack fan, all right? Yeah, I know I'm supposed to be like, use words like mise en scene and stuff, but Caddyshack's one of my favorite movies. Rodney said, come on, do it. This classic argument came up where if you don't do it, someone will, and it'll be bad. So he worked on a script, and he consulted with Rodney, and Rodney got in a fight with the studio and backed out. They had some success with Back to School, which he produced and wrote, and they were working with Alan Metter. Rodney pulled out. He pulled out. They fired Alan Metter, and they got someone else. And he got a phone call from co-producer John Peters saying, come with us to New York. We're going to go see Jackie Mason. And I said, don't do this. Why don't we let it die? He said, it'll be great, but I didn't go. They got other writers to finish it. I tried to take my name off it, but they said if I took my name off it, it would come out in the trades and would hurt the film. So you might be wondering, why is this movie being made and it's the wrong idea? That comes up so many times as we discuss this. Instead of Rodney, yeah, Jackie Mason's in it. And I'm sure people are like, well, they're just older comedians, right? Who's married much younger women late in their lives. But that's all they have in common. Rodney's character is an everyman who seemed to be using the audience as his therapist, bemoaning the way he was treated with lines like,
my wife, I got no sex life. The dog keeps watching me in the bedroom, wants to learn how to beg. I told him to watch my wife. I learned how to roll over and play dead.
And Mason always felt like he was lecturing the audience, somehow above it. Indeed, Alan Arkush, who directed this, said, after seeing Mason perform 2 nights in a row, I started to get a very different impression of him. The thing that occurred to me was he didn't connect with the audience in any sort of personal way. That's not necessarily a good thing for someone who's supposed to be your lead. At least what Rodney says to get no respect. There's an empathy that he evokes from the audience. Dan Aykroyd's one of my favorite actors, but he's basically Bill Murray in this. And while Jonathan Silverman and Michael O'Keefe are kind of interchangeable, there's a large divide between Robert Stack and Ted Knight. Look, I love Robert Stack. Don't get me wrong. Unsolved Mysteries forever.
Join me. Perhaps you hold the key. Perhaps you may be able to help solve a mystery.
And it's no slight, but when you're placing the exact same role in a movie that's beloved, you're going to get compared. And Ted Knight is my favorite villain in any movie. And when I taught pro wrestling, people ask me, how do I be a good heel? Ted Knight in Caddyshack is the best heel ever, and I'll explain to you why. This is a free tip that usually costs money. If you think about it, when he is with somebody that's weaker than him, he is the biggest bully in the world. He's angry, he's blustery, he's tough. But when faced with someone like Chevy Chase's character that is stronger than him, he backs off, he sells, he acts like a pussy. And that's being a heel. Anyways, I love Robert Stack, but I could only see him as a hero or the parts that make fun of his heroic nature. And I love Randy Quaid, but his role was written in this movie for Sam Kinison, who would have been amazing. To be fair, Rodney was in this movie until a month before production. He bailed. He realized it wouldn't work. And he kept adding to his contract, demanding final cut and royalties. They kept giving him everything he wanted, except to be released from the film. He just ended up with him facing a $10 million lawsuit, which he paid because he didn't want to be in this movie. As for director Alan Arkush, he told Sports Illustrated, I should have never made this movie. What was I thinking? He told us in an interview we were honored to conduct, you should never make a movie for the wrong reasons. You should only make movies about something where you know no one else can make it better than you. The question I asked him was, why Caddyshack 2? And he said, exactly, why Caddyshack 2? I thought he was going to shut the interview down after that. To his credit, Alan Arkush is amazing. And somebody who has done so many things beyond just this movie. He did Moonlighting and, all the stuff he did for Roger Corman, Heart Beeps. Okay, that's another rough one. But, he's an incredible person, and if you watch Trailers from Hell, you really get an idea of how much he knows about movies. God, he's going to hate this. And he just laughed, and he said, yeah, it's a bad movie. Anyway, Kate, Jessica Lundy, is the daughter of a real estate developer, and working man Jack, played by Jackie Mason, who wants to improve her social status by following her friend Miffy, played by China Phillips, and joining the Bushwood Country Club. Remember Bushwood? Bushwood. Of course, seeing as how her dad builds housing that normal people can afford, he doesn't fit in with club members like Chandler Young, Robert Stack, his wife Dina Merrill, who's Cynthia, and Mr. Jameson, and always welcome Paul Bartel. At least Paul Bartel's in this.
We just show these movies, madam. We don't make them.
Sure, hijinks ensue, but it's hard to get behind the blustering Mason, who strangely attracts Diane Cannon, making this into something of a science fiction movie. The Gopher can now talk. Of course, we need Frank Welker for that. And Chevy Chase shows up for 5 minutes, most of which consists of him being a sexist bore. This may have seemed funny in 1988, but it's gross in 2021. And I know let's not place our modern value on movies from the past. But I'm also the guy who likes to talk about Spanish and Italian horror that has incest in it. So, go with me here. Maybe I just agree that Chevy Chase will always be medium talent. The hardest thing to deal with in this movie is it's made by incredibly talented people placed into a thankless struggle to make something halfway decent. Harold Ramis and PJ Turokebe, who were Armed and Dangerous, okay, maybe not. Back to School, WKRP Cincinnati, and Real Genius, wrote the script with rewrites by Jeffrey Price and Peter Seaman. They're the guys who wrote Who Framed Roger Rabbit together. That said, they also wrote Wild Wild West and How the Grinch Stole Christmas, so maybe. Anyway, the thing that really sticks out to me about Caddyshack works whether or not you play golf. But if you love the game, you can see the nuances and enjoyment within the movie. In the sequel, golf just seems to be something in the background. Now, other than the miniature golf finale that closes the film, doesn't matter. I guess we can add the phrase, don't remake Caddyshack to another important life lessons, like never fight a land war in Asia and never go into Sicilian when death is on the line. Anyways, that's some bad sequels. I love sequels. I don't care. It just lets you spend more time in the world of that movie. Are they cheap and cash-ins? Yeah, sometimes. Are they great? Yeah, sometimes. Anyways, BNS About Movies is the website. bnsaboutmovies@gmail.com is the place to reach me. Thanks for listening. Like, share. I'm not giving you commands.